super excited to be joined by so many amazing volunteers, members, organizers, and activists tonight. We're looking forward to a really exciting, jam-packed call with some amazing guest speakers. And we're going to talk about a lot of different actions we've had going on just this past couple of months. Of course, a lot of national issues that we've been seeing needing to be addressed, and ways that we can plug in here in DFW to make sure we have a really positive impact on the things that we care about most. So thank you everyone for joining us. We're getting this call kicked off, and we're going to be joined, as I mentioned, by some amazing guest speakers. At any time, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. Also, if this is your first time joining us, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Put your name, pronouns, the city. Why did you join today? How did you hear about our call? We're very excited to get to know each other more and to have some good conversations. So we are going to go ahead and kick it off. I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Diana, who's going to go through our agenda.
Thanks, Carla. Welcome, everyone. We are so excited for tonight's call. Just a quick run through the agenda. We'll go through our principles, our chapter report. We had a lot of great wins during the May elections that we're excited to talk about. A great resolution in Denton for Medicare for All. We have our guest speakers, Representative Jasmine Crockett, candidate Vanessa Pacheco, and local Moms Demand Action leader, Catherine Vargas. We'll also tell you about ways that you can get involved, our upcoming events, ways to stay up to date, and then we'll go into our breakout rooms and give you the rundown for the next meeting. So stay tuned, it's a jam-packed agenda.
Thanks so much, Diana. Alrighty, y'all. So just really quick, we always highlight our principles for these meetings. Every month we come together as a chapter, as a community, and we want to make sure that in these meetings they're as productive as they can be, being respectful of everyone here. This is a safe space, so we want to make sure we treat each other with the respect that we are all deserving. Please do not attack anyone, regardless of your differences and opinions. We all know that we have a variety of opinions. So we want to make sure that everyone knows this is a safe space to have discussions and challenge, of course, ideas, but we want to be respectful. Also, we have amazing candidates who have joined us tonight, and we want to be respectful of their time. So please do not spam the chat or on Facebook, the comments with any non-endorsed candidates. We want to be respectful of the candidates who have joined us, who have earned our endorsement, and who are joining us tonight and giving us our time to talk about themselves and issues that they're fighting for. And of course, when we organize, we win. So we've seen so many amazing victories across issues, across elections, and we're continuing to build on that. And that's what makes us such an amazing organization here, being together with one another. And that's what we're going to continue to do. We're going to do this together. So we are going to go ahead and move on to thank you to all of our amazing members. We can't do this without you. We know that so many of you jump on the phones, go and hit doors, send text messages and emails, and share things on social media to really amplify what our messaging is and get out the word whenever it comes to voting, when it comes to showing up at city council meetings, when it comes to any sort of actions that we need your help for. Y'all are amazing. You'll always show up. So thank you so much. And then I'm going to go ahead and pass the next slide off to Kevin.
Awesome. Thanks, Carla. We always have to give continuous shout outs to all the members, volunteers, anyone you name, they have to get a shout out, especially the voters for keeping us moving forward and going out to vote with everything happening going on. We want to give a shout out to some amazing victories that happened on Election Day. State Representative Jasmine Crockett, who we helped in her state house run win by 88 votes, is now soon to be the next Congresswoman in Dallas. She won with an astounding 60%, over 60% of the votes. for Congressional District 30 and is the Democratic nominee in a safe blue district. And she'll be soon the Congresswoman-elect for Dallas and Texas overall. We also want to give a shout out to Monique Bracy Huff, who won her race to be the next Dallas County Criminal Court number 10 and be the Democratic nominee. She challenged an incumbent and won. It's because progressive values and really showing up for criminal justice reform is really showing right here in Dallas, and we need to continue moving forward. With Benton Jones, he won his state house race. Also, he'll be the next state house member of House District 100. We are excited to see someone progressive like Benton follow up Jasmine, and is going to be in that district, but we're not done yet. With Vanessa's race, we will hear from Vanessa later or soon, but she made it to the runoff in her May 7th election. So now it's going to be moving to now early voting is actually taking place now in her runoff election. So as y'all may know, Texas, we love elections, not really, but we have elections all the time. And now we need your help one last time before November. So if you know someone across the state of Texas, this is the race to look at. This is in North Texas. If you're anywhere in the state of Texas, if you're anywhere in the nation, you can help this race. And so please, please, please look into phone banking, so much more. And we'll talk about that later. But we have 4 awesome victories that happened in the month of May that we have to show up because those are work of volunteers, voters, supporters, everyone you name it, they came out and supported us. And we're only moving forward. We're not moving back because we know we can't move back. We just got to keep going forward because there's so much to do and so much work ahead of us. And so I'm going to pass it to Carla for what's happening next.
Thank you, Kevin. Again, I just want to give some love and shout outs to those amazing folks who won their races. And then of course, Vanessa, we are here with you and we're excited to see you be the next trustee for District 2. So another exciting win, y'all. Just recently in the last couple weeks to few weeks, we saw the very first Medicare for All resolution in the state of Texas to be passed in Denton, in the city of Denton. So that is an amazing feat. We, alongside many of our local coalition partners, DSA North Texas, Healthcare Working Group and their coalition, Public Citizen, the Texas Equal Access Fund, and many others who join in the efforts to make sure that we held our officials accountable and told them, hey, we want healthcare to be a human right, and we want you to vote to uphold that and make sure that you're advocating for that. And so it's very exciting and rewarding to see that it was also the 100th resolution at the city level to be passed across the United States. And we, of course, are looking forward to many more, Dallas potentially, and Fort Worth, maybe Austin and Houston very soon. So we're super excited about that. Of course, we are always hoping folks will want to be involved and help with those efforts. So there's plenty of room and growth for that. So we'll also discuss some ways later on that you can get involved with that. I'll go ahead and kick off this next slide to Kevin.
Awesome. Thanks, Carla. It's an honor to obviously introduce one of my good friends, a candidate running right now in Richardson ISD, trustee District 2, Vanessa Pacheco. Hey, Vanessa.
Hi. Thank you for
having me. Yes. So as we know, municipal elections, school board elections are not necessarily talked about that much right here in Texas, and always get the short end of the stick when it comes to elections and the importance. But we know school board elections are super important, especially when local politics. Can you explain why your race right now in a runoff election is really important, especially for voters in the district and around the Metroplex?
Yes, so thank you for having me. It's so important. Local elections, especially Board of Trustees elections, are important because we make the decisions on policy and funding that affect student learning within the district for a span of up to 6 years. So that's basically half of the year, half of the career, right, of any one student. And these policies and the way we fund programs affects learning, how we reduce learning gaps, how we promote programs and benefits for children, different ideas in STEM, for example, or, how we promote different structures for kids to get AP learning courses or college credit or certificates for trade. All of these decisions are based and go through the trustee table to fund and provide to our teachers. It's important because we decide what we pay our teachers, and our teachers are super important. They're professionals, and we have to value them and give them the support they need. So this is why we are the first, and I know it sounds initial, right, point of policy that affects our community. And it affects every single child in our community, every single family, and it ultimately affects, our state and the country, because our kids grow, we all grow, and we have to do what's best, right, for every single child in our district. And that's why school board elections are so important.
Yes, exactly. As we know, your race, unlike like many other school board races, is against a far right leaning candidate, and we need to really set back around this agenda going across North Texas, as we heard with Southlake, as we heard with many school board ISDs across DFW. Can you explain how we can transition away from that and move forward in your plan to build a better Richardson ISD?
Absolutely, and thank you for focusing on that. Yes, we have a very strong right candidate, opponent actually, and it's important because we have to protect how we educate society. And my platform and the way I'm prepared is make sure we provide innovative solutions to improve student outcomes and their experience at school. Richardson ISD is a majority minority district. We're at 67% Black and Brown students. We have to have representation. We have to have the voice of those kinds of students too. But not only that, we have to have representation of our diversity and our differences in the school board and in the policies and funding that we create. I think I can be the bridge. I know I can be the bridge for the community to help push Richardson into the future for success. I think we can work together because we are all better together. I don't believe that we are a generic or neutral society. We're complex, we're a rich community with culture, with potential, and that is an enrichment for all of us. I want to adjust the path for a stronger, more enriched and competitive school district. And by doing this is by unifying our community, right? By improving our outcomes, by keeping equity and inclusivity in our programs, by making sure we have social emotional learning so that we can all learn to communicate with each other, learn to express our feelings, and have successful contributors to our society and of course the world economy going forward.
Yes, and this district is actually really important, especially right now when we talk about, sadly, what happened with the Uvalde shooting recently. We saw I believe it was days after. This is very sad to talk about, especially at the wake of what's happening now. What happened regarding Berkner High School in the district of Richardson ISD District 2. What happened where a student brought an AK-47 style pistol and a replica AR-15 to the school, but thankfully nothing happened. But Vanessa, can you explain how we can move forward, especially in what's happening now, why you would be a champion for all students, parents, and also if there's any information you'd like to share about the event that we may not know of or I didn't talk about?
Okay, sure. Yes, so we did have an unfortunate event or, thing that happened at Berkner. It's more than unfortunate, it's extremely sad and concerning. I believe that our teachers responded adequately. I don't believe in arming our teachers at all. I do think that this person was stopped because someone was watching, and as dangerous as it was, and I have a child at Berkner, so I was very concerned and stressed. We have an elementary school across the street from Berkner, and they were all outside doing field day, and that was very concerning. But what did we do about it? How do we move forward? We move forward by making sure we have better communication, right? Communication with parents. How do we teach our parents to look for signs of stress on their child? How do we involve them in our school? How do we make sure we have additional counselors for students that feel fear, feel invisible, they feel unacknowledged? We need to have that kind of counseling as well at our schools. And that's why I'm also a big supporter of emotional learning, because this affects our children. And if we can teach them early on how to communicate, how to center themselves, how to make sure they express their feelings, it's going to make things better. It's like eating. One of the basic needs of a child, of any human being. We eat, we have to be emotionally okay, and then we can learn and be positive in our future. This event unfortunately happened. This person was 18 years old. And it's really hard. I'm not going to blame our schools. I'm not going to arm our teachers. I think this is something that our external sources like legislators and congressmen and Senate and Texas government can change for us. We need to approach it as individuals and as communities to ask for these changes, to change the age limit for access and remove access for very dangerous guns into our, that are in our community. But I would support, I know it might be really hard, I would prefer not to have any guns ever anywhere, but that is something very big to take care of. And really my whole focus is to take care of our students. I want to take care of our teachers, have a safe environment, have a welcoming environment, because ultimately this is a second home, not just for our students, but also for the professionals that teach our students. They spend so many hours there. We have to make sure we have the right policies in place. We have the police department in place with adequate training so that we can help not have that ever happen again in our school district.
Awesome, Vanessa. And then lastly, you were mentioning how I believe you took this course or you're certified with Moms Demand Action, or you completed the certificate. I'm not sure exactly.
Well, I did complete like their questionnaires, and I was interviewed, and we've talked, and we met with them, and I've checked their little checkbox, right, of being a Moms Demand Action type of candidate that they, support. So I'm definitely a strong supporter of Moms Demand Action. I've gone to some of their meetings and events, and I've known of them for many years. Actually, it's not recent. I've known of them previously, and they're just a great advocacy group, educational group. And definitely something that parents should consider is ask other parents when you send your kid out to friends, right? Do you have guns at home, and are they locked up, right? And if they can't answer that, or they say yes, but they're not, that's something you should consider as a parent, right? In Richardson, we can teach our families to do that because it's dangerous. If a parent can't say, I lock up my gun, or it's none of your business, it's that I would not send my kid there to that house. So I think it's something that we can educate. And I know that Moms Demand Action is a big promoter of educating families and providing resources for lockers and keys, and educating all kinds of things for keeping everyone safe.
Awesome. So now we're going to go to the chat. We see some questions. First, I want to mention, Sarah mentioned how effective with communication, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence are crucial in our long-term society. And we can also pass resolutions at the school board levels to ensure parents know to lock up their guns. Important, especially, that's very important. Thank you, Sarah, for adding that. I'm going to pass it to Carla, who's going to be conducting the Q&A portion.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Vanessa. So we have one question that has come through the chat, which is coming from a piece that you had highlighted on. So from Kay, I totally agree that we need SEL in our schools, as well as equity and inclusion training. SEL is social emotional learning. Do you have any ideas on how to bring in SEL training for our teachers so they can help our students?
Yes, that's actually a really good comment. And I've thought about it a lot. I recently met with a different group of people, and there's a woman who is a consultant, and she actually does that kind of training for corporations and adults. So I thought, wow, that's a great connection. As trustee, I would definitely ask her to come on board, give us a presentation, talk to us about what it does and how it takes place. Because I know our teachers get all kinds of training. They spend hours and hours of training. They don't even get paid for doing this training. But we also need to add that portion of training so that they're also centered, they understand how to control themselves in their feelings and put them aside for something, to remove assumption bias, all that stuff, because we're all human beings. We all have bad days. But we have to make sure we put them in a little box and then, move on with our days. And part of that also, I think it's including making sure we have a diverse teacher pipeline. Teachers that speak the languages of our parents and our families. We have over 160 represented cultures and communities here. So we have to have teachers that look like our students. We have to have administrators and leadership that looks like our students and our families and our community. So that's part of it for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I don't see any other questions in the chat yet, but folks, if y'all do have any questions, please put them in the chat. We can forward those along to Vanessa, or also in our breakout room session, we'll have the opportunity there to also ask Vanessa any other questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Carla. Lastly, we wanted to give one final ask for all of the people here. Vanessa's having an amazing block walk this Saturday at 11 a.m. Very, very important. If you have time this Saturday to move forward, especially getting a progressive candidate elected right here in Richardson, please, we encourage you to please sign up for her block walk. Diana put the link in the chat. I put the link in the chat. Very important. Please go join Vanessa as she's getting out the votes, especially in a runoff election when fewer than the May election are more likely to come out. And so we need all the votes we can get. Anyone to come out is very important, especially at a time right now. And so please sign up, let a friend know, send the link. Everyone's probably looking at November right now, but we need to look at June 18th. June 18th is coming around the corner, and this is our last chance, especially to move forward right here on the local elections. And these are especially going to have huge repercussions, especially for Richardson ISD. So please look into signing up and contacting Vanessa if you would like to block walk on another time personally. But other than that, thank you for your time, Vanessa. And I'm going to pass it to Carla.
Thank you, Kevin. So I am very excited to introduce our next guest speaker, who is a grassroots activist here in the DFW area. We are so excited to have a group leader with Moms Demand Action in Collin County. Catherine Vargas, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we are so grateful for you to be here and really to have this conversation openly and just talk about a little bit about the work that Moms Demand Action is doing, and then also how with such a difficult issue, an emotional issue, how we can really bring folks together to try to find the solutions that we know we need. Working with elected officials, also trying to educate our community members, and supporting our schools, our teachers, our students. So if you can share with us, give us a little bit of background about the work that you've been doing, the organization, and yeah.
Yeah, well, again, thank you so much for having me. I know right now there's a lot of attention on our group and gun safety groups across the country. We're seeing an unprecedented amount of interest in our groups right now in response to the events of the last few weeks. And mass shootings are horrific and they're frightening, and it's this culmination of the significant atrocities and loss of life in one moment. But at the same time, it's not the full story of gun violence in our country. We know that we have a serious problem with daily gun violence. It is now the #1 killer of our children. It is an issue that we are finally, I'm hopeful that we're waking up to and ready to address. So on the mom side, Moms was started by a mom after Sandy Hook, Shannon Watts. It was originally just a Facebook group, and it was just group of moms that were saying, we've got to do something has to change. And now it's grown into, we're the largest grassroots gun safety group. We work strategically to address gun violence through federal and state legislative action, local government advocacy, partnership engagement, school safety, public education, and electoral actions. So some of the big things in Texas, especially where we kind of focused our energy, especially for the 2022 elections, state legislative work. We have a Be Smart campaign that talks about safe storage, and that was kind of brought up earlier, and partnership engagement with local partners. Right now, like one of the things we're pushing, and I'm so glad that we did have one of our Gun Sense candidates, and that I think it was Sarah who had brought up safe storage with schools. You know, that is one of the big pushes that we're having right now. Our schools are so limited in what they can do. It is a state and federal problem that unfortunately our leaders, especially here in Texas, refuse to solve. And so our schools are limited, but we do know things like safe storage. Houston ISD does do safe storage contracts that parents are required to sign. They send information home about what safe storage is throughout the school year. Their social media team does graphics they put out to remind parents about safe storage. And we know measures like these save lives. So that's one of the things that right now locally we're working on. We did kind of had this campaign going on in December as well, but right now we're seeing that school boards are anxious to do something. Everybody wants to do something. So we're seeing much more responsiveness now than what we had in December, where a lot of these messages were not even being responded to at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. You know, I feel like it has been an issue very just long time coming with what we were expecting to get a solution out of, and having these issues like addressed. You know, can you tell us what are some of the things here in DFW that you know, again, hearing about the incident in Richardson and feeling like the frequency, do you feel that the frequency of these incidents are just continuing to like escalate? And that we have the current adequate response to it? Because I know a lot of us feel like we don't, but just from your perspective, like how do you feel about the frequency of these events, and just like whether we are, you know, what are some of the actions that we can do to try to like combat that?
You're absolutely right about the frequency. I mean, it's happening more and more, and we're seeing things, you know, what happened in Richardson. We also know what happened in Arlington in an elementary school where someone walked in armed into a school, and luckily the only person that he shot was himself in the foot. That was an accident or an unintentional discharge in that case. But that's something that I wish Congresswoman-elect Cockett had been able, she worked with us during legislative session. You know, we do see these things happen more frequently because after El Paso, after Odessa, our elected officials promised to take action, and instead their action was just weakening our gun laws even more and passing permitless carry. And Congressman-elect Crockett was instrumental in making sure that, hey, this will not happen on our schools. You know, the original intent of that bill was to allow it on school campuses, and that armed individuals would have to be verbally asked to leave by school administrators before it would be considered a crime. And she fought that. You know, we were in touch with her office quite a bit. And so I think when we're talking about elections and things, it is so important that, I mean, we know the way that our maps look here in Texas. You know, we are a nonpartisan group, so I'm not going to talk about parties, but we know the way that our maps look here, and we know what the odds are of winning and flipping and things. But having people that are willing to speak up, and there was very little that could be done to stop that bill. I mean, they plowed it through, but having reps like her there that were like, you know what, we're going to pick apart every little thing we can is so important. It's not enough for a candidate just to be like, oh, you know, I don't support this. We need people that are willing to speak up on the floor, and that's what they should be doing. So I really wish she had been able to make it. But like you said, this is happening more frequently. Guns are now the leading cause of death among Texas youth. We know that 3,500 people are killed by guns in Texas every year. And despite the lives taken on a daily basis, state lawmakers, just like I said, continue to tear down the few safeguards that we do have. You know, if guns made us safer, then Texas would be one of the safest places on earth. But instead, we know that states that have weak gun laws tend to have the higher rates of gun violence, and Texas does have some of the weakest laws in the country.
Yeah, for sure. I know. So we are actually excited to have Rep. Crockett on our call very soon. We know she's been a very strong advocate for reform around so many issues. And you're right. Well, it seems like we are put in a very tough space here in Texas because we are gerrymandered to hell, basically. We have so many members of the GOP who are just, their agenda is just to go and pass all these ridiculous laws, and it's really just contributing to the violence that's growing against communities, against children, against our teachers. So we wanted to ask you, even though we know you're a nonpartisan group, do y'all have any plans for November, for the midterms that are coming up very soon? What plans do you have? Do you have any events that we would love to help uplift and get folks plugged in? So, because I know a lot of times when I was hearing about the events unfolding in Uvalde, like I just shut down and I didn't know what to do. I was crying so much just reading the continuing flow of information that came out. And so we just want to know, like, in those moments, like, how can we help folks, who want to get involved, make that impact and do what they need to do to also just help feel a part of the solution too. So interested to hear what y'all have going on.
Yeah, the biggest thing is to stay involved. There's been some leaked memos that have been from the opposition of, running out the clock on this issue and expecting this to be like in past cycles where there's outrage and then it kind of, the next issue happens and we forget about it, and we need people to stay engaged. Like I said, when I first started talking, we have seen an unprecedented amount of interest in our group right now, but it's very important that momentum keeps going. One of the actions we're asking everyone to do is you can text BOLD to 64433. And that'll get you connected with a senator. And in that, we're asking for like simple things. You don't have to be super specific, but you can say things like, we're asking for red flag legislation. We know that this saves lives. A leader for the ATF to regulate assault weapons and to raise the purchasing age. These are all data proven, really non-controversial things. This is what most Americans support. And unfortunately, we're kind of being held hostage by a very small minority of the gun lobby. But I think if we just can keep this pressure on, that'll help a lot. And as far as events go, and it's not a mom's event, but this weekend in Dallas, there is March for Our Lives will be happening. It is actually being held by the two teens that are just kind of running the show on this, which they are teens. Like one of them just walked across the stage at Allen High School. So we're really excited to support them. They are from Collin County. And it's just amazing that they've really just saw this need and said, okay, no one else is doing it, so I'll do it. So we will be there supporting them. That's a great event. It's really important to show up to these things and to bring this visibility. But I hope people also understand there's a lot of unglamorous work that has to happen. There's things on the back end that no one sees, like that our data team do, which is, hey, if you want to do data, text READY to 64433. It's that same number as before, but it's READY. That gets you connected with your local group, and it's really any kind of work you want to do. We will be involved in November's elections, of course. This summer, probably midsummer, we'll have a big kickoff. Right now, we're kind of waiting on some of the candidates. We do send out questionnaires to all the candidates that they can fill out. Some choose not to fill it out because they know they will not get that gun sense candidate distinction. But once we have those back and we do have our candidates, we will do a big kickoff and we will be heavily involved in races. I know in North Texas, I'm very excited that I'm part of the new HD 70. So even though we haven't promoted a candidate there yet, I'm hopeful that we will, because I know it's one of the races that everyone will be looking at.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Catherine, for sharing all that. We'll be sure to continue to follow up with anyone who is interested. I don't see any questions currently in the chat, but again, if anyone on the call, on Facebook, if you have questions that you'd really like to get more information and get answered, please forward those to us. We can forward them on to Catherine and team, and, continue to work together in this space. Everyone in this progressive space, we know we care about having gun sense candidates. That's going to be the only type of candidate you see us endorsing. That's a part of our process, and ensuring that we protect the lives of our communities, and then just ensure that we are keeping people safe in the right ways. So I thank you so much, Catherine, for joining us tonight. Yeah, if there's any other information you'd like to give a pitch to social media or your website or anything else, definitely the floor is yours right now.
I mean, the easiest thing is texting READY to 64433, because I know we've got, with you guys being North Texas, there's Collin County, Tarrant, Denton, and there are people. I've been really inspired, people that have stepped up. The Tarrant County group, because of COVID, had kind of become dormant. The former lead for that is like a regional lead and doing bigger things. But we had someone that was like, you know what, I'll do it. Or we're seeing some people that are stepping up and saying, I'll do it. What needs to be done? And those are my favorite kind of people. So if you're one of those kind of people, please make sure that you text that number. But even if you're not, if you're someone like, I only have 5 minutes, or I don't know a lot about the issue, that's okay. You don't have to be an expert. And I see that Sarah Mitchell's on the call, and I love her so much. She's who got me involved with moms, and I got involved after El Paso. I'm a lot of the conversations that I'm having, there's a lot of guilt people have of saying, well, I haven't been involved before, and I feel like I can't speak now. Please don't feel that way. El Paso was my enough. I am white presenting, but I am Hispanic, but my husband and my boys are brown. And so when El Paso happened, it was very personal. And that's what drove me to get involved. And now here we are, and I'm a local group lead. That's not to say that you have to go to that extreme, but I didn't know a whole lot about the movement. And I used to actually be a GOP campaign staffer. So people can change on this issue.
We love it. We're glad you joined us on this side.
But it's part of it's having these uncomfortable conversations as well with the people that are close to you, but having it in a non-confrontational way and focusing on the things that we can agree on. We are seeing this really great dialogue right now around gun safety and gun reform and common sense measures. So I would say to engage with people that are worth engaging with. And knowing people that are extreme or are using certain terminology and things, they're not looking to have an actual discussion, and just don't waste your time there. But I do hope people will get involved. Like I said, right now, this is the leading cause of death for children and teens in the US. It is a crisis that's unique to the United States. Parents across the world are able to send their kids to school without worry. The issues that we have here that we constantly see in the media, with thoughts and prayers and everything, that's not unique to here. What's unique is our gun violence problem.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that it's absurd. It should not be that way for us here in the developed world, or in any world, honestly, but we need to definitely be prioritizing so many other issues, and ensuring people have access to so many other things, and not seeing their lives cut short due to gun violence. So thank you so much, Catherine. Again, folks, will definitely forward information to make sure that you can get plugged in. Thank you so much for being here. I truly believe if we can get this going here in Texas, we'll see it across the nation. That's how I feel about so many issues. So thank you so much. I am going to go ahead and pass it back now to Kevin for our next section.
Yes. So a lot of suspense for this next moment. We're going to be having a special guest join, but it's sadly with Joy-Ann Reid scheduled a 6:30 showing with her. And so we actually have another speaker going to be speaking on behalf of her, and that's Kendall. Kendall will be joining in any second now. She actually she's on TV right now, or soon to be. And so sadly she's not, it just happened today. I think she got requested on, and so she probably won't be able to join, but we're going to have Kendall, who's with their campaign, join on. And so he's going to be talking about her plans and some things for future coming on. So once he joins in, because they're currently fixing that, a couple minutes, we'll go right back to that. But other than that, and we'll try to do something else, an Instagram live or something with Jasmine. but I'm gonna pass it to Diana.
All right, well, while we wait for Kendall to join us, just a quick reminder, to sign up to volunteer, we need each and every one of you to continue to do the amazing work that you are already doing. But this time we're asking you to bring your friends, your family, anyone that you might know that would want to get involved. We need folks on the recruitment team, on our comms team, fundraising. Like I said, the movement needs everyone. So you can find out ways to get involved. The link is right there, the ortx.us. North Texas. Oh, I see Kevin dropped it in the chat. So please feel free to click on that, join us. We'd love to see you. There's still a lot of work to be done ahead of the November elections and leading up to it. So we hope you'll join us and we'll see you soon. Yes, Carla, cool people, click this link.
And I think that Kendall just joined Kevin.
Yes.
So perfect timing.
Perfect timing. Hey, Kendall.
Hey, how are y'all?
Good. Thanks so much for taking time out, Kendall. We know Rep Crockett's super busy, especially now since winning her election, which we're super excited for. Kendall, how has been the campaign since the win? Any plans moving forward that you would like to share? And the floor is yours.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you guys for allowing us this space to be on. I'm sorry that I'm not on, camera at all. And like Kevin said, not only is the rep moving all over the place, but her team is as well. So definitely apologize about that. But my name is Kendall Locke. I am on Jasmine's team, a part of her core team. And so we're just excited about, what this win means and what it means not only for, her as, being a freshman, state lawmaker and who's now, having the opportunity to go to Congress, but what it means just for the overall progressive movement and what it means for, just Democratic politics across, Dallas and Tarrant County, North Texas as a whole. And so we're just excited, looking forward to just continuing to build on some of those amazing partnerships that we were able to build over the campaign trail and making sure that we're able to sustain that through November and even after. Definitely would be remiss, I would, if I didn't, take this opportunity. We're on Our Revolution call, so I definitely have to take the opportunity to acknowledge Our Revolution because, you all really stepped up to the plate and ensured that, you did you all's part in helping us, get this win. And so, as you all know, our campaign, title is Jasmine for Us. And so, big emphasis on the us because we know that in order to be successful, in order to move forward, that it's a collaborative effort, and Our Revolution was definitely a part of that collaborative effort, whether it was through the form of knocking on doors, making calls, sending text messages, before the primary and even or before the first round, and then even when we went into the runoff. And so definitely appreciate you guys for being there with us. In terms of the road towards November, we're going to continue doing what we do in terms of, knocking on doors and connecting with voters, understanding what their problems are, and how we can start to develop some of those priorities as we, of course, prepare, of course, as the rep prepares to get sworn in, but, understanding what some of those, deep issues are, building, of course, those coalitions and continuing to build upon those. The district is heavily Democratic, so she is the presumptive Congresswoman-elect, technically not the Congresswoman-elect now, since she does have some opponents in November. And so I know that is shocking to a lot of people. She does have 4 opponents, so 1 Republican and 2 independents, but I'm pretty sure that she will, definitely exceed and go beyond and above with that election with flying colors. So needless to say, excited about that. Going to continue to be on the ground, making sure that we're able to help some of our other candidates, especially Beto, and working, down the ballot to ensure that we're doing our part. and helping, move the needle forward. But really just staying focused on, continuing to connect with all of our neighbors across, Congressional District 30, especially since it is a newer district, there's newer parts that are added, and just making sure that we're able to shape those priorities and make sure that we're able to, hit Congress as soon as she's sworn in, rocking and rolling and starting to take care of not only those bread and butter issues, but also some of those larger issues that we know are facing, our communities, our state, and the country. And of course, we are definitely going to want to hold on to, our revolution as a strong partner, and definitely be here to, listen to you all's issues, and definitely ensuring that we're doing our best in advocating for those. And so thank you so much, Kevin, for allowing us the opportunity to be on. Again, thank you all for the strong support that you all provided throughout the election. And I'll drop my information in the chat if anyone has any questions or just want to connect further. But definitely just appreciate this opportunity and appreciate you all support, and hope that you will continue to support us through November, even after November, once she's in Congress and in the halls of, DC. And then, of course, when we get to that, next portion of even re-election. So appreciate you guys.
Yes, thank you so much, Kendall, for joining. We have one more question, but before we get to that question, it's so important to really acknowledge how local elections matter. Jasmine won by 88 votes in her state house run, and by working to elect her in the state house, we now see in the congressional level where she's now going to be the presumptive congresswoman-elect, and she has been a champion alongside us in the state legislature, and we hope to work with her, especially in the national level. And thanks, Kendall, for being on and really showing how our relationship throughout the years has been amazing, and we're going to continue to work to continue to bring progressive change locally. Kendall, you were mentioning how there's upcoming November elections. We've heard in recent years how most of these are strong champions in office. A lot of our districts, especially when it comes to November election, don't have a high voting turnout. How can we help Jasmine, especially to get the district and other areas in North Texas to have higher voting turnouts, especially when we need to elect statewide, but also on these local races, these swing districts, maybe like in Tarrant County on Grand Prairie, the county judge and DA. How can we work with the campaign, or how do you think the campaign is going to?
Yeah, for sure. So no, I think, the main thing, I think a lot of times we talk about, people don't go out and vote. And I always say, well, what are we doing to ensure that we're providing every possible outlet for them to go vote, in terms of, are we reminding them? Are we sending text messages? Are we knocking on their doors? What are our touches? And so I know that from, our campaign, we'll definitely be aggressive in, making sure that we're getting and turning out the vote. And so I definitely would, encourage you all to consider connecting with us. We will roll out, phone banking, and roll out, things of canvassing and all of that great stuff, GOTV efforts. But as we get, closer to the election, I know that Representative Crockett has several candidates in particular that she wants to, really go hard for, and ensuring that she's able to do her part. But, really the biggest thing I think that I saw, with our election was meeting the people where they are, where they were, excuse me. And that was the biggest thing for us. We were able to, to connect with those individuals, not only at the door, not only on the phones, but at different events, able to get those people registered, making sure we were sending mail. I mean, it was just a whole thing about how do we connect directly to the voter. And so I think that's a big thing for us. And we definitely, and I would definitely encourage you all to, help us, help the greater, community, in terms of, when you see us post different opportunities in terms of, our GOTV efforts, definitely help us, push that out. We'll do the same on our end for things that you have going on, but it's all about what are we doing with, our own individual platforms to get out our circles of influence. And that's what it's all about. I think we oftentimes we overcomplicate it, because we say, well, there's 1,000,000-something people registered here and only, 5% of the total, registered population is going out to vote. And we're like, that, how can we ever get, high turnout and X, Y, and Z? But I always tell people, you have to start with your own individual circles. And if you can do that and you can start and get your circle of influence, because everyone has one, regardless of, if you're elected, an activist, whatever, everyone has a circle of influence. And so how do you take that, get those people activated, and then from there encourage those individuals to get their circles of influence activated? And it's all a ripple effect. But it's all about the teamwork. It's all about working together, and knowing that, this is definitely a marathon, and it's not a sprint. And so those are kind of some words that I'll share with you all. But as we start to kind of build out what our field efforts will look like, and just kind of start mapping out kind of what Rep Crockett will be doing on the campaign side of things, because of course transition is about to be a big thing for us in terms of getting some of that official stuff taken care of. But on the campaign side, I'll definitely make sure that I'm sharing that information with you, and we would welcome you all to engage with us on any way you all are available.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kendall, for joining. And thanks again overall, especially what's happening. We cannot forget this victory. Jasmine was endorsed by many progressive people, 2 times by Bernie, Warren, many other progressive figures, and the progressive movement is growing. But we know, as Kendall was saying, we need to get votes out, especially on the local level and other areas. And so overall, we're going to move on to our next segment. Thanks again, Kendall, for joining. And I'm going to pass it to Diana.
All right, thanks again, Kendall. So just a quick call out on one of our upcoming events, and a reminder to join the Texas Democratic Convention. It's happening Thursday through Saturday here in Dallas, July 14th through the 16th. And really exciting is that there will be a progressive caucus. More details on the exact date and time, but of course you can check out the details of everything related to the convention and more at the link that we'll drop in the chat. But it will be a progressive caucus joined by progressive organizations across the board, including Our Revolution. So please join, stop by. We'd love to see you in person and find ways to collaborate together. So check out that link.
I would also like to add onto that. Thank you, Diana. We're super excited for the convention, getting the opportunity to have a space for progressives to convene and move together towards some really amazing goals. I also hear that there's going to be a really cool hangout one of those evenings. So make sure that you get into our Slack, which is our next slide here. So you can get the details for that. It'll be a much more casual, networking opportunity to get to see each other in person. I know we've been on Zoom calls now for the last almost 2.5 years. So it's going to be a space where we hope to just come together as a community and have some good food, some good drinks, music, and a good time. So make sure that if you're not currently in our Slack, I think that Kevin just posted that link in the chat. Feel free to sign up to join, get involved, hear about all the events we've got going on and opportunities like the really fun ones too. So I think that is our final, our final reminder is regarding our next meeting, which the date on there is not updated, but that's okay. Our next meeting is going to be July 5th. Again, every first Tuesday of the month, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. We will be here to have those follow-ups and additional updates on things we've got going on. And hopefully then we'll also be celebrating a win for Vanessa in Richardson ISD. So thank you everyone who joined us on the call. On Facebook, we will now be transitioning into our breakout room session. Thank you so much for joining. You guys just hold tight and we will